we're on, aren't we?
Yeah, we're on.
So can I welcome everybody? And I'd just like to say my chaplain, Reverend Sally Bayliss, will say prayers, and we'll have a minute's silence for His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh, please. Okay, Sally. You can't hear her.
I think she's on mute.
Are you on mute? Is she on mute? Can't hear her.
Have we got Reverend Sally?
Yeah, we can see you, Sally, we won't hear you.
We can see you. Yeah, I can see your names there.
Sally, anyone hear her?
No.
No. Can't hear you.
You know, in the case of a sort of Michael Payne, could you put his number on it and invite someone to dial a number and try that way? That can work.
I could. I don't know what number he'd want me to dial on. If someone could drop me an email.
Payne is now here.
Oh,
everyone.
okay.
Right, well, we can't hear Sally. I don't know for why.
She's gone now.
Normally she's okay, isn't she?
Reverend Sally, if you can hear me, we can't hear you, but if you could leave the meeting and rejoin, sometimes that solves, if there's an issue in the background, maybe if you could leave and rejoin.
Oh, what a meet.
Not good, is it?
No, she's not.
She's got all together, hasn't she? No, she's still there. You can just.
I'm just trying to admit her now. It says admitting, but I don't know if there's a problem with the signal, perhaps. I do apologise.
It's not your fault. No.
Right, Reverend Sally's back in the meeting, but I don't think we can still hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right, I went out and came back in.
Yes, that's worked.
I don't know I don't know why that happened. Anyway, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for inviting me to open the meeting. As we commit our meeting in prayer, we give thanks for all of you able to be here this evening. We give thanks for all the work each and every one of you does, and for all the volunteers who support you and keep you in touch with the community. And tonight we are going to now pause for a minute's silence in gratitude for the life of HRH Prince Philip, thinking perhaps especially of all the young people in the borough who've benefited from the Duke of Edinburgh award scheme. So we can begin our minute's silence now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, would any of the party leaders like to say anything? John Clark, Councillor John Clark, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yeah, unmuted there. Yes, just like to say that, you know, I've never met him. I know a lot of you royalty in the civic circle have met the Prince and met the Queen and other people, but I think his biggest legacy, and it's already been mentioned by Sally, was the Duke of Edinburgh Awards. And yeah, I'm really keen on it as a former person who went all through the scouting system and lessons I learned from that. And I can see that being reflected with the Edinburgh Awards. I was particularly interested looking at some of the coverage at the weekend, apart from the good turnout in very difficult circumstances at the funeral, but the way it was done and the way it was conducted, I think was not only a credit to the past Duke, but also to this country, the way we can organise these things in times of difficulty. He had a lot to do with the wildlife fund and driving people to that, and I think was one of those. I think he was one of those people that actually got on with the job, you know. And obviously, I've seen a lot of comments by different people that he didn't suffer people that wanted to mess up. He wanted to get a job done, and therefore. It will be a sad loss, not only to that, because it is the Queen's birthday today, and she can have a happy birthday, then have one, because her 95th year, and anybody of any age, of any persuasion, of anything that can reach 95 years have done very well. But he will be sadly missed by this nation, and I think was proven by the comments that were on not just TV, you know, on the radio, in the written press. It was continuous. I know some people got a bit overpowered by it, but it was quite interesting to learn about somebody and the history of their life of 100 years, 100 years old. So a sad loss to this country. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. Councillor Michael Adams, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Glad to finally be here after internet wobbles going on there. Yeah, I'd just like to obviously pass on our condolences from our group to the Majesty the Queen and the Royal Family on the loss of His Royal Highness. As many of us are at this time, I just completed a delivery walk in Gedling when I heard the news. You know, total ordinary day. I pulled up, the Vanessa Phelps show was on Radio 2, and suddenly it cut off and the announcement came from the BBC. It was quite a stunning, poignant moment. And then the pause, and then the national anthem. I sat and listened to the entire thing, and then thoughts immediately drift to the Queen and how she must feel. And after 70 years, you know, how can you process that sort of loss? I remember my Gran Ida when my granddad passed away, and they'd been together for a very, very long time, and it takes a while for them to adjust. Their lives are so interwoven. Philip's unique role with the Queen as a devoted consort for over 60 years, from Her Majesty's session in 1952 until his death, will leave a large hole, especially as we have all grown much closer to our families as well during lockdown. And by the nature of spending so much time with them, like in my own family, we have a sign in our house that says, "When the world stayed apart, we stayed together." And I think that's a real big thing for families. And like she said, in 1997, he was quite simply her strength and stay all those years. And his whole family and this and many other countries owe him a debt greater than he could ever claim or we shall ever know. I'm sure as many of you did when you heard the news, it felt like a loss of someone that you knew, someone that was ever present. It was a very sad moment, added to a number of very sad moments that we've all been through this past year. And I didn't realise I knew very little of the man. It was interesting what John was just saying then about the Duke of Edinburgh scheme, because that was where my connection also came with him. And it was his meeting in 1933 at the Salem School in South Germany, run by Kurt Hahn, who inspired Philip to set up the Duke of Edinburgh Awards scheme. And I never for 1 second thought as a young person on that scheme, as you wouldn't, that I would one day be standing here as an opposition group leader talking in his memoriam. But maybe he was preparing me for it all along. It says on the DOV website that your child does their DOV programme, they'll develop the skills and attitudes they need to become more rounded, confident adults. And the community section of the award provides a young person with a sense of worth having given voluntary service and help to others in their community. And the opportunity to give voluntary service over an extended period of time enables young people to witness and experience the benefits that their service provides to others and encourages them to become better citizens. And this man was that personified, the ultimate servant, an inspiration to us all when we're in our own in this place. The selflessness shown by him to place his own life aside, first of all, as a Navy officer for us all, and his involvement in international projects and conservationism, and then to be that of Her Majesty, the ear that was always listening, the arm that was always there to hold. And it reminded me finally of the people that we have that support us during these times, whether it be during elections or during council, so we can attend these meetings. We've all got our own Prince Philips in our lives. They all come, and whether it be looking after the children when we're in meetings or whatever that may be, they all come to our side and enable us to do what we do. So to the husband, the father, the grandparent, the great-grandparent and the officer of the Navy, we bid you farewell, sir, and thank you for all you've done for us. God save the Queen. And happy birthday today, Mom, and also happy St George's Day to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Adams. Councillor Elwood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We recognise Prince Philip's duty to the nation, and our condolences go to the royal family at the time. It's good to remember his service to the country in the Second World War. He was part of the World War generation that is sadly passing away, and that is the aspect of his life that I personally will have remembered in the last week or so after his sad death. But as I say, we recognise what he's done for the country. God bless him.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Elwood. Anybody else? No? No?
Yes.
Yes?
If I may, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Carr.
Thank you very much. No, it's just a reminder that what we saw on Saturday went out worldwide. And as Michael alluded to, it was a very, very efficient operation, designed particularly by HR Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. Having said that, he was, and I belong to the regiment where he was Colonel-in-Chief. And this coming May, we would have had our reunion and had the usual congratulations, telegrams, you name it. But the Land Rover was built, designed by Prince Philip, built by the engineers of the Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineers, of which I'm very proud to be past member of. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Parr. Very interesting. Councillor Boyd-Elliott, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and for giving me this opportunity to speak. Having met the Duke of Edinburgh a couple of times and spoke with him on one occasion about his love of horse and carriage riding, and having the opportunity to go to the Queen's garden party and having an ice cream with him and having that chat and our love of we shared our love of Land Rovers and all vintage vehicles. I just wanted to put my just amazing memories of him and what he's done for this country. So personal thanks to him, and God bless the Queen. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you very much, Councillor Boyd-Elliott. Councillor Bob Collis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had the honour of meeting His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh on 2 occasions. Once at the age of 9 in Cornwall, where I was brought up, where he'd come to open a new playground, recreation park, and I was a sixer in the Cubs, and he came along and shook my hand. I had to make sure it was still there afterwards. And the second time was when I had the honour of serving as Mayor of Gedling, and at a garden party, he looked through a gap in the crowd in front of me and said to me, "Where are you from?" "Gedling, sir." "Where's that?" on the edge of Nottingham. He looked at the mayoral train and saw the oak tree and said, "Have you got Robin Hood in there somewhere?" That is the sense of humour the man always had.
That's right.
Rest his soul.
Oh, thank you very much, Councillor Collis. Councillor Bosworth?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to echo the sentiments of all the other leaders who have said what a good man he was and the things that he did, and just comment about the dignity of the Queen during the whole of the service. I'd just like to say that the things I know about, of course, like everyone else, the Duke of Edinburgh Awards, but also he had links with Nottinghamshire because the carriage that he drove was made by a firm in North Notts, Bennington Buggies. So I've seen him driving before. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Bosworth. Anyone else? No? Go on to item 2 then. Apologies for absence. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're all present and correct.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sam Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Everyone's here.
Okay, so I'm assuming everybody else is here. Caroline, would you mind confirming who's present for the benefit of the people listening at home, please?
Certainly, Madam Mayor. So present at today's council meeting, we have Councillor Adams, Councillor Peter Barnes, Madam Mayor, Councillor Sandra Barnes, Councillor Barnfather, Councillor Bosworth, Councillor Boyle, Councillor Brooks, Councillor Clark, Councillor Clooney, Councillor Collis, Councillor Creamer, Councillor Elliott, Councillor David Ellis, Councillor Rachel Ellis, Councillor Roxanne Ellis, Councillor Elwood, Councillor Feeney, Councillor Fox, Councillor Gibbons, Councillor Greensmith, Councillor Gregory, Councillor Hemingway, Councillor Hollingsworth, Councillor Hope, Councillor Keneally, Councillor Lawrence, Councillor Ron McCrossan, Councillor Viv McCrossan, Councillor Miller, Councillor Murray, Councillor Nayuk, Councillor Paling, Councillor Parr, Councillor Payne, Councillor Scroggy, Councillor Martin Smith, Councillor Sam Smith, Councillor Towsey Hinton, Councillor Truscott, Councillor Wheeler and Councillor Wilkinson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline, for confirming the following councillors are present. Item 3, which is the Mayor's announcements. But can I say, first of all, it's really lovely to see you all, but I do look forward to seeing you in May for the AGM in the council chamber. I just want to say, I went to the school service on Friday. It was very cold, but it went very well for the Duke of Edinburgh's service, and it was done really, really beautifully. So I was very, very privileged to be there. I'm sure a lot of you are all thinking of the Queen today because it's the Queen's birthday, and it must be really, really sad for her, and it's terrible. And I've been thinking about her all day long. Now, I also want to tell you, I wrote to the Palace as the Mayor, obviously, had a lovely letter back from the Secretary saying to everybody, thank you very much for sending your condolences to the Queen, and it's very, very much appreciated. So thank you, everybody. The letter's here if you want to have a look at it, and she does thank everybody. I haven't got any more to tell you. I finally would be very grateful if members could use the raise your hand button, as you know, and put a message on the meeting chat if you would like to speak on any agenda item. I'll therefore ask Caroline to invite each of you to confirm how you're voting. So we go to item 4 to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 27th of January 2021 and the 4th of March 2021. Councillor John Clark to move, please.
Move, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne to second.
Seconded, Madam Mayor, and can I just associate myself with your good wishes to Her Majesty on her 95th birthday. The Queen said in the wake of the tragic 9/11 attacks, grief is the price we pay for love. and I think this week she will be feeling it after what has been a really difficult week for her and her family. And anybody who saw the photos from the funeral of her sat alone, isolated from the rest of her family, feeling that, I think, brought home that she is just like us, somebody who will be feeling that grief and that loss as the price we paid for love. So our best wishes to her. We're thinking about her.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. Councillor Wilkinson, yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I've just got a correction to the minutes. I think it's the January minutes, but it's page 20, item 70, the waiver of contract standing orders on the named vote on the motion. I was present and voted in favour. Looking at it, actually, Councillor Wheeler is down twice, so I suspect I am supposed to be one of his one of his presences.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Paul. Okay, as the minutes are not normally voted down, I don't propose to take a vote. So if you're all content with this, we'll carry on. Yeah. Item 5, declaration of interest. Are there any declaration of interest?
Wilkinson.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not declaring an interest for myself. I'm just alerting to 3 members of our group that they will need to declare an interest in the motion on the NHS, so they know who they are. Okay,
thank you. Councillor John Clark.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just need clarity on this. It's only just thought about it. It's all my family have worked for the NHS or are working for the NHS. Does that suddenly bar me for some reason? There's no pecuniary interest to me.
I think so.
If it's your spouse, Councillor Clark, but otherwise, no.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Elwood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the first motion to be debated tonight on the NHS, I'll have to declare a pecuniary interest, but I'm an NHS employee, so I will leave the meeting at that point.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Keneally.
Madam Mayor, I also need to declare a pecuniary interest in. I'm employed by the NHS.
Thank you very much, Councillor Keneally. Councillor Hemingway.
I too am an NHS employee, so I'm also declaring a pecuniary interest.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hemingway. Councillor Alex Scroggy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just like my colleagues, obviously, I'd like to declare an interest as well, as I'm employed by Nottingham University Hospitals.
Okay then. Thank you very, very much. Okay, everybody. Item 6, to deal with any petitions received under Standing Order 8A.
None received, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item 7, to answer questions asked by the public under Standing Order 8.
None received, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Item 8, to answer questions asked by members of the council under Standing Order 9.
None received, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Right, item 9 is Maison's annual audit letter 2019 to 2020 report to the Director of the Corporate Resources. So the recommendation is in the agenda at the front of the pack then. Councillor Collis, would you like to move, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm happy to move that.
Thank you. Councillor Lawrence, would you like to second it? Councillor Lawrence? Where's Councillor Lawrence?
If he's not there, I'll second it. I'm on the audit committee.
It's what it's called, Madam Mayor.
Who?
Councillor Lawrence.
Councillor Lawrence.
I'm happy to second if you need someone, Madam Mayor.
Mayor? Hello?
Hang on.
Councillor Lawrence? Where is it?
Just do that.
No.
He seems to be on mute, Madam Mayor.
Councillor, he's on mute.
Give up.
Right. Well, I'm just going to ask Councillor Greensmith, do you want to second it then?
Yes, I'll second it. I sit on the audit committee as well, so.
Helen, yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Greensmith. Okay.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I had difficulties in putting my microphone on. I kept clicking it and it kept going on and off. I do beg your pardon. Otherwise, obviously, I would have been more than happy to second it.
Right, okay, Councillor Lawrence. Well, Councillor Greensmith's done it, so thank you very much. Would anybody like to speak on this? No? Councillor Collis, would you like to close them? Councillor Collis?
Sorry, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'm quite happy to move the recommendation that we note the annual audit letter.
Thank you very much then. Okay, so as the audit letter is already approved and the council's being asked only to note its content, I don't propose to take the vote. If any member's not content with this, would they please indicate now, or I'll assume that the council is happy with the recommendation proposed by Councillor Collis. Thank you. Item 10 is Maison's external audit strategy memorandum. This is a report to the Director of the Corporate Resources. The recommendation again is on the agenda at the front of the pack. Councillor Collis, would you like to move?
I'm delighted to move this, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lawrence, would you like
Yes,
to?
I'm also delighted to second this.
Thank you very much. Anybody wishing to speak on this? No? Right, Councillor Collis, would you like to close?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I suggest we can move ahead.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So again, as the audit strategy memorandum is already approved, the council's being asked only to note the content. So I don't propose to take the vote. Any member not content with this, could they please indicate now, or I assume the council's happy with the recommendation proposed by Councillor Collis. That's okay then. Item 11, to receive questions and comments from members concerning any matter dealt with by the executive or a committee or subcommittee, standing order 11.1. There are 18 sets of minutes on this agenda, so I therefore propose to take them all as one. So if any member would like to speak on a question or make a comment about any of the minutes, would you please indicate, and when asked, using the raised hand button or by putting a message on the message chat. Can I remind you that you must refer to the page number that you're speaking about? Okay, so we'll go from minute A to, well, I'll go right the way through to the end to R. So is there anyone wishing to speak on any of the questions or any of the comments? Please make a comment now. Nobody. Right, okay. Item 12, to consider comments of which due notice has been given under Standing Order 11.3A.
None received, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Vic. Item 13, to consider motions under Standing Order 12. Two motions have been received and they're at the front of the agenda pack. Motion 1, the wording of the motion is set out in the agenda, and Councillor Payne, would you like to propose, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. We've debated many times in this virtual chamber just how difficult the last year has been, and indeed that's been reflected in some of the comments earlier this evening in tributes to HRH and to Her Majesty the Queen. The NHS in the last year has been nothing short of a lifeline for everybody in this country, not only the NHS, but also all of the key workers, which includes every single member of staff at Gedling Borough Council, who have done an absolutely outstanding job of maintaining not only just day-to-day frontline services, but also the humanitarian effort that the Borough Council has stepped up to provide to support the most vulnerable and isolated people in our community. And I just want to say at the outset, Madam Mayor, that this motion tonight pays tribute to those people. thanks those people, commends those people, and lets all of those people, the carers, the NHS workers, and all of the key workers, and indeed all the volunteers who have given such an outstanding effort to support our community over the last year, that they are thanked, that they are appreciated, and that we recognise that whilst we were all doing our duty and staying at home, many of them were going to work and putting themselves in harm's way to protect us. For many of them, Madam Mayor, the last year has been quite simply a matter of life or death. Many people in the NHS have lost their lives putting themselves in harm's way. We all went out, quite rightly, Madam Mayor, on the doorsteps every week and clapped the NHS and clapped our carers and clapped our key workers, and members right across the political divide and no political party in this chamber came together to celebrate them, to thank them, to clap them and to cheer them on as they were protecting us as not only a local community, but as a country too. But tragically, Madam Mayor, when it came to a discussion around how we reward them and recompense them in terms of remuneration, the government has decided to come forward and suggest a 1% pay rise. And let me just be clear, Madam Mayor, as the motion lays out tonight, that isn't a pay rise, it's a real terms pay cut. And you don't have to take my word for it, Madam Mayor. The motion sets out that the own Office for Budget of Responsibility, the independent organisation that advises the government around figures in relation to the economy and the budget and the direction of travel for our country's finances, is very clear, Madam Mayor, as you see in paragraph 2 of the motion, in predicting that consumer price inflation, CPI, will rise to 1.7% in the coming year, leaving the measly 1% pay increase, or real terms pay cut, as we ought to call it, calling a spade, way behind inflation, Madam Mayor. These are people who have been without PPE at the beginning of the pandemic as a result of a failure of this government. These are people who have often had to isolate from their own family. Councillor Adams talked tonight about those behind us who support us in elected office. Well, let's tonight also remember those who are family members of those who work in the NHS, where we saw nurses having to live in separate accommodation from the rest of their family, where we saw carers having to often move into care homes so that they didn't infect their own family, but also that they didn't create problems in the care homes. We've seen pressures not only in the workplace in terms of the shifts and having to wear the PPE, but also in terms of day in, day out, having to see people lose their lives and being able to do very little about it. And one just can't imagine the stresses and strains that must bring on a human being, Madam Mayor. We talk about the collective mental health impact of this pandemic on the nation, but I think we often forget about the impact specifically on those who have been our first and last line of defence against this awful, awful disease. So, in short, Madam Mayor, what this motion sets out to do tonight is to say to the government, let's stop being mealy-mouthed. Let's stop saying that it's all just about cheering on and clapping our NHS workers. Let's recognise that while we were doing our duty and staying at home, these people were turning into work to protect our community, that many more lives would have been lost without their heroic efforts. And let's recognise their hard work. Let's give them the substantial pay increase that they deserve. So I'm calling, Madam Mayor, and hopefully the council cross-party unanimously tonight will call on the government to withdraw the 1% pay increase, real terms pay cut for our NHS workers, and instead come forward with a substantial pay increase so that we can show them that we're not just about clapping them and cheering them on, but that we actually mean what we say and that they're valued. Let's also remember, Madam Mayor, that not only have they been the first and last line of defence against COVID, but the NHS now faces the biggest backlog in care over and above the COVID issues that it's ever faced in its history. These people will be expected to pick up that can and deal with these patients as we move, hopefully, out of this pandemic. But let's also be clear, Madam Mayor, we are by no means out of the woods in terms of COVID. We've seen today just on the news issues around the variant that's come over from India. We've seen issues today in relation to colleagues from the National Committee on vaccinations, stressing that whilst the vaccine programme has been outstanding, and the NHS and the volunteers and the army and others who have played their part, indeed our own council staff, should be commended around the vaccination programme, by no means is it a simple passport out of these problems, and we are not out of the woods yet. So we're going to be expecting, Madam Mayor, the NHS workers who we're talking about tonight, to not only pick up that historic backlog in terms of care, but also to continue to protect us and care for us in terms of the COVID sick. And I'm sure tonight, Madam Mayor, so let me just deal with this up front now, we're going to hear about the nation's finances. We're going to hear about, well, who's going to pay for this, Councillor Payne? Well, let me just say, the same people who are paying for the £2.6 million that the Prime Minister spent on a press conference room that's now been shut with a closed sign on the door a few short weeks after we wasted the money putting up a few union flags and painting the walls blue and appointing a press secretary. The same people, Madam Mayor, who have paid the price for £2 billion worth of contracts that have been awarded to Tory donors or Tory friends or Tory chums. And the same people, Madam Mayor, who have also been rewarded as developers with the development of the Developers Charter that we've seen, where local residents are told that they don't now have a right to have a say with proposals being brought forward by the government on planning issues. But if you're a rich Tory donor who happens to be sat next to the Secretary of State for Housing and Communities and Local Government, or you've got his phone number in your own phone, then you get the social housing on your major developments written off, or you get your planning applications approved. So let's not have a debate and be mealy-mouthed about the nation's finances. Let's recognise the historic challenge that this last year has presented. Let's recognise the COVID heroes in the NHS who have supported us. And let's not just clap them and then turn our backs on them in a few short months' time when it comes to the pay settlement. Let's stand together tonight, cross-party and no party, and say to the government very clearly, withdraw the 1% real terms pay cut for our nurses, bring forward a substantial pay increase, and show that you care about those who have been caring about us. If there's anything we ought to be able to come together on, Madam Mayor, it's this. The NHS has been a lifeline to us, and this is measly. And if you don't want to take my words, and the Conservative members may bristle at my words, as they usually do, let's listen to Andrew Percy, the Conservative MP, who showed some backbone and said quite simply, Madam Mayor, and I quote, "This is unacceptable." Let's listen to Dr. Dan Poulter, who served as a Conservative MP on the front line throughout this, who says that he very much hopes that the government very quickly rethink on this. He says there is a strong moral case for a rethink, Madam Mayor, but he also says there is a strong economic case. And why does he say that? And I quote, Madam Mayor, because he says if the government come forward with below inflationary increases, you drive NHS staff into agencies which cost the taxpayer more money in the long term. Dr. Dan Poulter and Andrew Percy, two outstanding Conservative MPs, speak sense. And I hope cross-party tonight, Madam Mayor, that we will listen to them. Let me finish and conclude, Madam Mayor, with one word from Sir Roger Gale. I don't think you could describe him as a socialist or a militant or left-wing, as I may get bandied tonight in the debate. Sir Roger Gale is an upstanding member of public service and a long-standing member in the Houses of Parliament as a Conservative Party MP. And I'll finish on his word about what he thinks about this measly real terms pay cut for our NHS workers. Inept. I hope we listen to Sir Roger Gale tonight, Madam Mayor. I hope we come together in unanimity, and I hope we put forward our recommendations to the Prime Minister that he should withdraw his 1% real terms pay cut for NHS workers. He should celebrate them and show that we care, and we should put in their pockets the money they deserve for, quite frankly, being lifesavers throughout this awful pandemic. I move the motion, Madam Mayor.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Councillor Payne. Councillor Clark, I'm sure you would like to second this, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Yeah?
Where are we?
Point of order?
It's Councillor Murray. Point of order. I would invite the Madam Mayor, I would invite you, in accordance with Standing Order 12.04, to consider whether this motion and the motion that succeeds it are proper for the council to consider this evening. Paragraph 12.04 of the Standing Orders regulates the content of motions which may be considered by this council. Unsurprisingly, it is not open to members of the council to debate any topic they wish by way of putting down a notice of motion. Gedling Borough Council is here to discuss matters which relate to our borough and from a local perspective.
Correct.
And the drafters of our constitution have provided that every motion shall be relevant to some matter in relation to which the council has powers and duties or which affects the borough. The determination on this paragraph shall be made by the mayor. Now, Madam Mayor, there are two facts which are self-evident. The first is Gedling Borough Council has no jurisdiction or remit to cover NHS pay, or in relation to the second motion, to raise or reduce the level of the pupil premium. These are matters for the government. There is also one other principal fact, which is that we face a county council election on the 6th of May, and both the proposer and the seconder of this motion are candidates in that election. These motions are blatant electioneering. They are an inappropriate use of this council's time and money. They are nakedly political and inappropriate.
Okay.
In fact, Madam Mayor, I would go so far as to suggest that they are pretty desperate stuff, and I would invite you to rule them as inappropriate motions.
Right, thank you, Councillor Murray. I'm just going to ask Fran then, could she please comment then on this?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you hear me? In relation to the motions, there are residents in the borough who work for the NHS, so in that way there could be argued to be that connection there. In relation to the reference made to further, the publication of council agendas is not classed as a publication for the purposes of the legislation, so the publication of the motions themselves are not unlawful.
Thank you very much, Fran. Thank you.
Point of order, Madam Mayor.
Who's that? Michael?
Yeah, it was me, the proposer of the motion, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Payne then.
Well, there were a few personal remarks made by Councillor Murray in his exposition there. So let me just say to you, Councillor Murray, we're not in the court of law now, we're in the court of public opinion. And I represent people who work for the NHS, and I represent pupils who have been denuded of money as a result of decisions by your government. And you can throw all the smoke and mirrors you like, Councillor Murray. You can quote all the words in the Constitution you like, Councillor Murray, because it's inconvenient that you don't like people debating decisions that your government has made that are affecting my constituents. But I'll tell you what, Councillor Murray, none of your courtroom barracking is going to silence me in standing up for the people who work for the NHS, who I represent on this council, or the young pupils who have been denuded of pupil premium. So maybe just do your homework before. Don't insult the intelligence of our monitoring officer who checked these motions before they were put down on the order paper, and do the courtesy of the people who you represent in Newstead Abbey Ward who do work for the NHS, and the pupils who have been denuded of pupil premium, the decency of actually debating in the court of democracy, not trying to shut things down with your smoke and mirrors and your courtroom barracking as you've tried to at the start of the meeting. If there's anybody there ought to be some shame on tonight, Councillor Murray, the shame ought to be on you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. Can I now ask Councillor Clark, I'm sure you would like to second this motion.
I would love to second it, Madam Mayor, and I'm going to reserve the right to speak. I want to hear some more of the stories similar to Councillor Murray's. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Paul Wilkinson, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to speak in favour of this motion, and I'd like to echo the words of Councillor Payne. as well as representing a large number of people who work within the NHS and other parts of the health and social care sector. I have the very great privilege of working with many of them on a day-to-day basis, and I am often humbled by the work that they do. Our health workers put themselves right in the front line during the pandemic, and many of them unfortunately paid the ultimate price. And we should recognise that. We all went out on our doorsteps and with pride clapped them last year on a Thursday evening. But let me tell you, claps don't pay for the weekly shop at Aldi. It's time that we rewarded our NHS staff and indeed our health and social care staff as well, although this motion is just about the NHS. It's even worse in health, other aspects of other areas of the health and care sector, social care sector, because much of that is in private hands. Let me give you a few statistics, which for some recent research by the Cavell Trust. Nurses, midwives, and healthcare assistants are nearly twice as likely to be able to afford the bare necessities many of us take for granted, such as a home in a decent state of repair, or being able to replace a broken furniture like beds, or being able to fix or replace a broken fridge or cooker. 28% of healthcare assistants couldn't afford two pairs of all-weather shoes. 62% of healthcare assistants would like to save at least £20 per month for a rainy day, but can't afford to. 18% of healthcare assistants don't have enough money to keep their home warm. That, Madam Mayor, is a disgrace. And I'll tell you something else about these nurses, midwives and healthcare assistants. I bet you none of them have the phone number of the Chancellor of the Exchequer that they can just drop a text to every time they want a handout, and I doubt that very many of them are related to the Secretary of State for Health either. Next time they want a bung or a lucrative contract. No, this is the way they've been treated is disgrace, and I wholeheartedly commend the motion to you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilkinson. I've got Councillor Barnes wishes to say something.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the motion this evening is probably one of the best motions I've heard in 35 years on this council. It's hitting every nail on the head. This government has cut the health service and public service for the last 15 to 20 years, and we're paying the damn price for it. The staff who work in the hospitals and the public service are treated as peasants, and it's time this government woke up, because the peasants are starting to fight back, and the way they've been treated this last 6 months is a disgrace on humanity. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sam Smith. Sam Smith? Councillor Smith?
He's on mute.
Are you on mute?
No, I haven't raised my hand to speak.
Oh, right. Councillor Creamer then.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Trouble unmuting. I've got to agree with everything that the Labour group has put forward so far. I can't disagree, but it's a matter of respect. And I actually find it insulting. We all represent, at least I hope we all represent health workers. We all represent somewhere in our constituencies the actual workers at Gedling Council. Now, the health workers work in partnership with us. To actually ascertain that we've got absolutely no say in their health, they have every right to be represented at every level where they are represented, and they are represented here. This is a matter of respect. This actual crisis hasn't finished yet. There's quite likely to be another rise in COVID, but let's say there isn't. Let's be nice about that. It's already been mentioned, the backlog. There is going to be significant backlogs, and they will be expected to actually work and clear the backlog. And they will do it. They will do what they can. And this, again, is a matter of respect. They worked for us tirelessly. They put themselves at danger, as already been said. I'm proud to represent some health workers from whatever region, whatever area. If they live in this area, whatever they're doing within their jobs, we're representing them politically. And I actually find it disgusting that we try and break down representation because somebody is not happy and wants to protect the government. We're not even attacking the government per se. If you look at item 4, the item 4 agrees to ask, to suggest, and it's right and proper. As individuals, we should all be doing it. If we're in unions, we should be doing it. If you're in your various clubs that we aren't party to, you should be doing it. They deserve this. They deserve this rise, and they deserve more than anything else the representation of the people they serve. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Creamer. Councillor Bob Collis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The NHS has been underfunded and cut back since 2010 when the Conservatives came into power. Over the last year plus, they have been struggling against this horrible disease. Many current serving NHS staff are seriously considering leaving their profession because of the stress they find themselves under over the last year and continuing into the future. The King's Fund is an independent think tank. They have identified that currently there is a shortage of 84,000 full-time equivalent NHS staff. Of these, about 35,000 are nurses. GPs, there's a shortage of 2,500 currently. And unless something happens, that's going to grow to 7,000 in the next 5 years. My GP, I know, is getting close towards his retirement age. He works tirelessly for the practice. They've tried taking on extra GPs. They have been unable to find any wanting to join. And where they have in the past, they serve a year or two and then they go and move to Australia or New Zealand where they can get a lot more pay for a lot less hours. It is absolutely appalling that a 1% offer to current nursing staff and others in the NHS is being made when the retail price index is increasing more than that, so it amounts to a pay cut. I fully support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Collis. Councillor Gibbons, please.
Yeah, just coming to really support the motion and just to make a comment what Councillor Murray made regarding the relevance of the motion to the people of Gedling Borough. As I mentioned to this council before, myself and Rachel Ellis, we help run a community kitchen up at Best at St Albans at the St Emmanuel Church, and we regularly have members of NHS staff coming up to pick up a takeaway meal, and this is to supplement their so that is the reality on the ground, and that's the reality affecting NHS workers within Gedling Borough. So I will be supporting the motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gibbons. Councillor Michael Boyle, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to speak not in favour of this motion. I'm going to preface my contribution by expressing how appalled I am that Councillor Murray decided that he wanted to shut down the debate on this, not because he had a real point on the order paper. He didn't. He wanted to shut down the debate because he knows he can't defend this position from a Conservative government because it is indefensible, and that is why he tried to do it. So I'm appalled. So let's actually go through what's happened here. A year or just over a year ago, as we are moving into this crisis, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, was denying that there was a problem. He was divvying over lockdown. He didn't have the PPE because in 2016 there was an audit of pandemic readiness, which the government at that time, from his erstwhile friend Dodgy Dave, had decided to suppress. Now, of course, we went into lockdown, and of course a lot has happened since, and people have died. But the dithering and the incompetence hasn't gone away. This week, for example, we hear that India is now finally going to be added to the red list because of the problems there. We knew 2 weeks ago that there were problems and that country should have been added to the red list. But no, Boris Johnson wanted to see his mate, Narendra Modi, instead. And of course, he's had to back down on that. So that incompetence and dithering and delay still happens. Countries that have had a different strategy have done rather better. Cuba, New Zealand and Vietnam had COVID eradication policies. They wanted to get rid of the pandemic in their countries. Cuba has sent medical brigades all over the world, including to Italy, where the problems were very severe this time last year. And Vietnam has had 35 deaths instead of 130,000, and they've got 97 million of population, and they're more densely populated than we are. So countries can do better in this pandemic, and we haven't. So what has happened since? We've had the brilliant work of the Oxford Group and the AstraZeneca vaccine, and we were the first country to approve the Pfizer vaccine in Europe. Now, this is all good, but Boris Johnson claims, does he not, that this is to do with capitalism and the markets and greed, and that's why we've got these vaccines. No, it's because publicly funded, massively publicly funded programs of research and cooperation of scientists all over the world have produced a massively great result. And then the vaccine program, including at our own Richard Herod Centre, has been the work of the public sector, not the private sector in the main. And that has allowed us to see a route out, not necessarily a panacea to see us out completely, but a route out of this thing. Test and trace, on the other hand, which has not been publicly run, has been an unmitigated disaster, and with stench of sleaze, we can see as a result to that. Of course, during the pandemic, we clapped our care workers, didn't we? We clapped our NHS workers. Boris Johnson was on the steps of Number 10 doing exactly the same, as were the other party leaders. That was fine to do that, to pay tribute to the effort that we're making. But look, you know, it's not good enough. Clapping does not pay bills, as has been mentioned before. This is a cut, a 1% increase when inflation is more than that. And given that austerity has demanded that there have been pay freezes on NHS workers for the past 11 years, means they deserve something. So let us stop defending the indefensible. Vote for this motion. Everybody should vote for it and say that NHS workers and care workers and key workers need to be properly paid. Say no to the 1% and vote for this motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boyle. Councillor Nair. Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. Sorry, thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to support this motion, and I have a particular personal reason for doing so. A month ago, my grandson was born prematurely and spent some time in ICU. Those nurses and midwives went above and beyond the call of duty to save both his life and my daughter-in-law's life. And then we reward them. They'd stayed beyond their shifts to make sure that the baby was okay, and they did everything to save their lives, and we reward them with a measly 1% a cut in their wages. It's disgusting, and we all have NHS workers within our wards that we should and do represent. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Well done, Councillor Nair. Thank you very much. Councillor John Clark.
Just on mute. Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm disappointed in Councillor Murray there, because I would hopeful that 41 members of this council would support the NHS. And I've got a fair old background there, which I'll bore you with for a minute, but started with my wife, who was a retired now mental health nurse. Catherine, one of my daughters, is a specialist nurse at the City. Sarah, who works for the Blood Service and is working on AstraZeneca, so that's the plasmas, etc. They haven't had a rise since 2011. That is one hell of a long time. 2011 since a proper rise, and now thankfully The oldest granddaughter is now going off to Manchester University to train as a mental health nurse, and that is an area that we're going to be desperately in need of after having 15 months of being locked down with COVID. Again, I can't say I hope you vote with this tonight, and I really do. I'm trying to keep the politics out of it, but it is very hard. That 1% was not sufficient. There's no doubt in that when you've seen billions of pounds scattered around this country like as if it was a confetti at a wedding. The NHS today has 4.7 million people waiting for elective surgery. That's 4.7 million. Those people are waiting, similar to the operation my wife had at Christmas for a brain tumour and is still recovering from it. But the dedication that was put into that, and God knows what the cost was. And I remember talking to Alex Scroggy about it. He says, you know, one of those pieces of equipment that was there, he said it's worth $250,000. That was used by complete, absolute experts. So, it goes on and on. But the 4.7 million people waiting, the same people that's been going for COVID for 15 months have been going and well beyond their remit, well beyond the hours that should have done. They've really worked. I suppose anybody checking those hours would have been in well excess of anything that was recognised by any union or body in the land. Those same people are going to have to go there again, get up, brush down and try and get some of these 4.7 million, because it might not sound to some people a great deal, but if you're waiting for a hip operation or something like that that's been going on and on, I am told, I hope I don't get this, but I am told that the agony from hips and knees and all the rest of the things that is in that 4.7 million is absolutely staggering. We've seen it. We've had the years of austerity, continuous austerity, and we've been doing this. And we've also, at the same period, I think the figure's around about 50,000 less staff. It should have been being addressed in 2010. It's not been addressed. It's been cut, not unlike the police did with 26,000 cuts. And I know they're trying to put some more police back on the streets. The border guards, which have been cut. It's interesting yesterday because the Prime Minister, and this is a point here, the Prime Minister missed 5 Cobra meetings over the COVID situation. But when the Premier League and all the money boys and girls were in there yesterday, we'll have a meeting straight away. We'll do that. Well, that is not on. It shows where the priorities were. The priorities were to be at that table when COVID started off. You've got, I think Michael mentioned it, there's a cost of living going up. The cost of living. Well, I, for one, would pay more on the tax if it could pay these people. If they put 1 or 2 pence on income tax, that would cover some of these rises. And I would volunteer to do that because these people are worth their weight in gold. And when Councillor Murray says it's nothing to do with it, there are nothing to do with this borough. There are 339 people, dead residents. That's what the interest is in, and that's why it's down here, to award those people a proper living wage rise. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. Councillor Roxanne Ellis, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to call for a named vote, please.
Well, we'll have a named vote. Yes, we will. Yeah? Okay.
Seconded.
Second.
Is that seconded, Madam Mayor?
Thank you very much, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Gary Gregory. Councillor Gregory.
On mute, Madam Mayor.
Are you on mute? Councillor Gregory.
I'm that interested. What I'd like to try and point out, I'll try to be polite, but I can't promise. Spades are spades, not shovels. I would like to point out that every member of this council chamber will at some point in their life meet an NHS employee. Don't think that you won't, because you will. And the work that they put in and the dedication that they give, they don't even ask for a penny from you. But they're not to give them recognition of what they've been working through. None of us can accept or have any knowledge of how they've worked. And I think it's downright disgusting if nobody's going to vote for what we want to try and do. Because it's communities, but if you're not involved in that community, then you'll vote against this motion tonight. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gregory. Anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Councillor Sam Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The last year has been very difficult for us all. At the forefront of our response to the coronavirus pandemic has been our amazing National Health Service workers. I believe that their passion, commitment and specialist knowledge of the NHS staff is part of what makes our NHS so special. In particular, I recognise the sacrifice, commitment and dedication our NHS workers over the past year have made, and we thank them for their fantastic work. I believe it's important to honour this, while understanding that the pandemic has had a real consequence on public finances, which cannot be ignored. By way of factual background, Madam Mayor, in setting pay across various areas of the public sector, the government receives recommendations from 8 public sector pay bodies. These pay bodies, Madam Mayor, work within the remits provided to them by government and report annually with recommendations to the relevant Secretary of State on pay for the forthcoming year. Madam Mayor, the NHS Pay Review Body makes recommendations on the agenda for change pay scales, which cover all NHS staff, except doctors, dentists and some senior managers. The government has submitted evidence to the pay review process, and in that evidence, the budget for pay rise is 1%. However, Madam Mayor, and it's really important that members of the opposition remember this, the independent pay review body will make recommendations in late spring. Then they will be considered by the government and a pay settler announcement announced in due course. As this is still an ongoing process, it is right that the government has not preempted these recommendations, unlike this motion in front of us tonight. Now, Madam Mayor, the government is trying to give NHS staff as much as it can at present time. It's important to remember all but the lowest paid workers across the public sector have had their pay frozen for 2021-22, and our NHS workers have not. In addition, the Labour group should not forget that over 1 million NHS staff continue to benefit from a multi-year pay deal agreed with trade unions, including a pay rise of over 12%, Madam Mayor, for newly qualified nurses. The average nurse pay now is £34,000 a year, and the junior doctor's pay has been increased by 8.2%. Additionally, the gap between the wages of those in the private sector and those in the public sector have increased significantly since the start of the pandemic. According to the Office for National Statistics, which the Deputy Leader has quoted, in the 6 months to September, private sector pay wages decreased by 1%, whilst public sector employees saw their wages rise by nearly 4% of the same period. We in this Conservative group, Madam Mayor, also welcome the investment that this Conservative government has already made in NHS workforce, including £530 million in professional development and increased recruitment, £30 million on staff's mental health support, including wellbeing hubs and occupational health support, and the new bursary programme, Madam Mayor, giving at least £5,000 each year to nursing, midwifery and aligned health professional students. With all that said, Madam Mayor, Gedling Borough taxpayers listening at home to this debate may be wondering if they've tuned into a debate on Parliament TV, Madam Mayor, instead of listening to a Gedling Borough Council meeting. Because while we all agree that NHS pay is important, it is one for Parliament and not this council. In his speech, Madam Mayor, the Deputy Leader, Councillor Payne, mentioned actions speak louder than words. Well, he might be auditioning to be Labour's next parliamentary candidate for Gedling tonight, Madam Mayor, but the hard-working taxpayers of Gedling Borough would rather him do that in his own time and not at the taxpayers' expense of this council, because all his motion does, Madam Mayor, is speak nice words. We've heard a lot about clapping tonight. Well, Madam Mayor, Labour councillors can clap this motion, but the action on this motion's subject matter is to be taken by government soon, not this council. It's about time, Madam Mayor, that Councillor Payne and his Labour councillors joined with the Gedling Conservative councillors in focusing this council on delivering actions against the people's priorities, protecting green spaces across Gedling Borough through better planning policies, paying out government business grants quicker to support our businesses and high streets, emptying our bins and tidying up our communities, keeping our parks clean and tidy, licensing taxi drivers and hospitality businesses, keeping council tax low for Gedling Borough residents, protecting properties across Gedling Borough from flooding, stopping fly tipping and installing CCTV cameras to keep Gedling Borough residents safe and reducing antisocial behaviour. Madam Mayor, this motion is asking the government to reconsider something that it is yet to be concluded. And we disagree that Standing Order 12.04 is as broad as the Mayor has held. This motion is on an important matter, but it's not within the remit of this council. Hey-ho, face-to-face council meetings resume in the council chamber in May, and I hope when the Labour councillors walk into that meeting, they realise they're returning to the Gedling Borough Council chamber and revert back to Gedling Borough Council matters. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sam Smith. Councillor Hope, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, firstly, I am going to support this motion, obviously. I don't think there will be anybody in Gedling who thinks that this government has given the nurses, offered the nurses a pay rise that's as big as they could possibly make it. I really don't think anybody would accept that. And the second thing is, each of us around this table represent an area of Gedling, and I know we are not delegates, so we don't have to be constrained. But I suspect that if you were to go out on the street, virtually nobody you meet, if you were to ask them, would say, I think 1% is what the nurses deserve. I don't think anybody would do that. I think everybody would say, this is a stingy pay increase. This is a stingy offer that's being offered to the nurses. We know what they did, and everything that everybody has said is true. For goodness sakes, why don't you, on this issue, because it is a major one, listen to your constituents, because you know what they would say to you, and get the message through to the government, because remember, we are one channel of communication between our constituents and the government of the country. And we should use that when we need to. And I think this is one of those cases where we do. So I would ask each one of you to think about what the constituents in your ward would want you to do, and do it, rather than trying to support something which is, in my opinion, unsupportable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hope. Councillor Rachel Ellis, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's an awful lot of sense that has been spoken today. We all represent NHS workers, and as Councillor Gibbons says, we and I know other councillors volunteer and work in local food banks, or indeed community kitchens, volunteer at the vaccination centre, and so on. We represent these people, and my view is it's right and proper that we attempt to represent them at this level in order to persuade the government to do the right thing. I would point out that the Independent Pay Review Body has a responsibility to propose, but it is the government that makes the decision and disposes. And by heck, don't they know how to dispose when they've a mind to? Millions and millions to their chums for inappropriate PPE, for example. And so it goes on. The sleaze and cronyism at the heart of this government needs to be called out. And part of my real, annoyance and anger is that while they can give these millions to their chums, they are not prepared to pay the NHS workers what they deserve. There is a saying that the labourer is worthy of their hire, and certainly NHS workers are worthy of their hire, so that they have an income which does not force them to community kitchens and does not force them to food banks. I hope that on consideration, every single councillor and Gedling Borough Council will actually vote for this particular motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rachel Ellis. Councillor Liz Clooney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to echo something that has been said before about, all our wards as NHS workers everywhere. We're representing them to help get a better deal for them after this terrible year. And as Rachel alluded to, Councillor Ellis alluded to, about the people working at the Richard Herod Centre, I'm volunteering at the vaccination centre, and every time I'm there, I'm in awe of all the NHS people working there, and of more recent times, all the NHS workers who are coming through for their second doses, which is lovely to see. Often they're coming in their uniform after their shift, And just to pick up on what Councillor Smith said about council business and what we should be considering, a lot of the things, or most, things he was mentioning, that's our day-to-day business. We're dealing with that. We're dealing with that all the time anyway. We don't need a motion to tell us how to empty the bins. So this is, beyond that, and to help try and get a better deal for our residents.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clooney. Anyone else before I? No? I just want to say something. I've worked for the NHS and I've absolutely loved it. And I'll tell you, it's jolly hard work. A lot of people, they work on goodwill for the simple reason they love the job, they love the patients, and they're very, very proud to be part of the NHS. That's all I want to say. So can I ask Councillor Payne, would you like to close on this issue, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. When it came to a crunch issue about whether we value the NHS or not, and whether we're willing to put our money where the mouth is, what have we seen from the Conservative opposition? Stony silence. In fact, stony silence apart from two members, one who tried to pretend he was in the courtroom and throw smokescreen to shut down this council debating NHS pay increases, and one who, I'm not really sure what he was doing, Sam, to be honest. You lost me halfway through. I think Councillor Gary Gregory said, you've clearly not got an argument to defend the pay increase, so instead you went off on some spurious debate about me. Quite willing to have a debate anytime about me with you, Sam, but that's not the issue in front of us tonight. And let me just say this to you, Sam, before you start lecturing me and the Labour group about the priorities of this council. Don't talk to me about the priorities of Gedling Borough residents, because when it came to putting your name forward in an election and standing for them, you did a runner to Newark. So we'll take no lectures from you about standing
Points of order, Madam Mayor.
Standing up for the... No, we've heard enough from you, Councillor Smith. We've heard enough from you, Councillor Smith, tonight with your personal remarks. And let me just say this to you as well, Sam Smith. When you talk about CCTV, and when you talk about green spaces, and when you talk about house building, and when you talk about antisocial behaviour, this Labour administration, re-elected 3 times, more CCTV than this borough's ever had, more green spaces with green flags than this borough's ever had, a 365-acre country park that you all voted against, a brand new play park at the Gedling Country Park that you all voted against, redevelopment of Arnold Market, redevelopment of Carlton Square, crime falling in your own borough in Stoke Bardoff and Burton-on-Trent and the Burton Joyce and the Trent Valley as a result of work by this administration. More neighbourhood wardens on the street as a result of this administration. Police officers being recruited at a faster level than they've been recruited in the rest of the country as a result of this council's work and the work by Paddy Tipping. So if you want to debate records, Sam Smith, I'll debate records with you any day of the week, because the record of this Labour administration is dealing with the bread and butter issues that face our residents. And if you want to talk about bread and butter issues, Sam, spend some time talking to the Conservative Rank County Council, who have left our roads and pavements in the most despicable state they've ever been left in. But that's not the issue we're here to debate tonight. The issue we're here to debate tonight is recognising our COVID heroes. He's saying thank you to our COVID heroes in the NHS, and he's giving them the decent pay that they deserve. And I'm afraid, Sam, you can't have it both ways. You're telling us that 1% is evidence, not an offer, and the independent pay review will make a recommendation. Your Prime Minister told us a few weeks ago on the BBC News, 1%'s as much as we can offer. So which one is it? Is 1% an opening gambit, or is 1% as much as you can offer. Make your mind up, Sam. I know the memo probably from Tory HQ arrived 2 weeks ago, and it's now out of date that you've been reading from tonight. But shame on you, young man, because tonight this council will come together, as Councillor Hope said, recognising that we have people who live here in the borough who have worked tirelessly to protect our loved ones throughout this horrendous year that we've had. And we will say, as a council, hopefully with the support of the Conservative group, but if not, the Labour group, the Lib Dems and the Independents will come together tonight and say, not only do we clap you, not only do we cheer you, but we will support you with money in your pockets. We will call on the Prime Minister to up the offer from 1%. You had 2.1% in your long-term NHS plan that was legislated for and voted through in Parliament. So don't tell me you've only got 1% in the bank. And what we're also going to do is say to the independent pay review body, ignore the 1% proposal from the government and come forward with a substantive pay increase that actually is a pay increase for our NHS workers and isn't a real terms pay cut. And I just finish on this, Madam Mayor. You should do your homework, Councillor Sam Smith. I didn't quote the National Office for Statistics. I quoted the Office for Budget Responsibility. They're two different organisations. So just take a second to look up from your Tory HQ briefing, do a bit of your own thinking, and next time you might be able to quote me correctly. I move the motion, Madam Mayor, and hope that it's unanimously supported tonight.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. Caroline, can I just ask you, Councillor Roxanne Ellis has asked for a named vote. So can we have, is that okay? And can we have a seconder for a named vote, please?
Second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Right, seconder. So, Caroline, can I leave you this for the vote then for the motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, just when your name is called, please could you state whether you are for, against or abstain? And this is just a reminder for all councillors to take themselves off mute at this time. Thank you. So, Councillor Adams.
Abstain.
Councillor Peter Barnes.
For.
Madam Mayor.
Definitely for.
Councillor Barnfather.
Abstain.
Councillor Bosworth.
For.
Councillor Boyle.
For, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Brooks.
For.
Councillor Clark.
For.
Councillor Clooney.
For.
Councillor Collis.
For.
Councillor Creamer.
100% for.
Councillor Elliott.
Abstain.
Councillor David Ellis.
For.
Councillor Rachel Ellis.
For.
Councillor Roxanne Ellis.
For.
Councillor Feeney.
For.
Councillor Fox.
For.
Councillor Gibbons.
For.
Councillor Greensmith.
Abstain.
Councillor Gregory.
For.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
For.
Councillor Hope.
For.
Councillor Lawrence.
For.
Councillor Ron McCrossan.
For.
Councillor Viv McCrossan.
For.
Councillor Miller.
For.
Councillor Murray.
Abstain.
Councillor Nayuk.
For.
Councillor Paling.
For.
Councillor Parr.
Abstain.
Councillor Payne.
For our NHS heroes.
Councillor Martin Smith.
Abstain.
Councillor Sam Smith.
Abstain.
Councillor Towsy Hinton.
For.
Councillor Truscott.
For.
Councillor Wheeler.
For.
Councillor Wilkinson.
100% for.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's carried.
Thank you very much, Caroline. So now we go on to motion 2, which you...
Sorry, Madam Mayor, to
sorry,
interrupt. We
excuse me,
just need
sorry.
to...
Well, we just need to call back the 4 people that are out of the meeting. Are we okay to pause for a moment while we just get back the 4 people that... Sorry, thank you.
I think that's it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Alec. Okay, so now we can go on to motion 2. So the wording of the motion is set out in the agenda. Councillor Payne, would you like to propose, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and colleagues can take the motion as read. The motion which the Deputy Leader of the Conservative Group doesn't seem to think is order of business for this council, talking about the children who rely on free school meals. Beggars belief, Madam Mayor, but we'll get to the motion. Disgracefully, Madam Mayor, just as we approached Christmas, the government has actually become renowned for doing this. The government slipped out a decision under the radar, secretly, without any conversation with schools, without any conversation with parents, without any wider consultation with local authorities who have a responsibility for education, including Nottinghamshire County Council here in our own county. And that decision, Madam Mayor, and you just couldn't make this up after the year that we've had, both in terms of COVID, but also the crisis the government went through, where they were effectively bought to see their sense by a football player, by the outstanding leadership that Marcus Rashford showed when they turned their back on children who rely on free school meals a few short months ago, that they slipped this decision out just before Christmas, that in a very underhand way uses an accounting con, essentially, Madam Mayor, to change the ordinary January date for counting the number of pupils who are eligible for pupil premium. And for those people who are listening to this debate, pupil premium is the funding that supports disadvantaged children who rely on free school meals within our schools, not only here in Nottinghamshire, but in Nottingham and around the country. The government slips out this sleight of hand, this accounting con, this secretive decision right before the Christmas break under the radar to shift the date from January 2021, where you would count up and record the number of pupils and allocate the funding, to October 2020. And I can tell you, Madam Mayor, having spoken to them, this has caused huge consternation amongst educationalists around the country. Head teachers are absolutely hopping mad, and rightly so, about this disgraceful decision by the government. And we are now a number of months, 4 months on from that decision, and still there has not been any shame, no U-turn, deathly silence from Mr. Randall, deathly silence from Mr. Spencer, who are meant to represent us in Parliament. And this issue runs to the heart of what kind of community and what kind of country do we want to be, Madam Mayor? Because if we're not here as local representatives, and we're not here as a national representative in Parliament, or indeed a national government, to stand up for children who don't have the vote, often don't have a voice, and who do not have enough food to keep them from being hungry, and who are often, Madam Mayor, and I remember this as a child, stigmatised and bullied for being on free school meals, then what is the point of this council? What is the point of a national government? What is the point of a member of Parliament? I don't care whether you're Conservative. I don't care whether you're Labour or you're Lib Dem or you're Green or you're UKIP or you're Independent. If you can't stand up for hungry and disadvantaged children in public service, then quite frankly, Madam Mayor, there's something wrong with you. I was brought into politics through a belief, Madam Mayor, that you should be able to get to where you want in life, irrespective of your background, irrespective of the colour of your skin, irrespective of your sexuality, irrespective of the street that you were born on. That's what motivates me. That's what drives my politics. And it sickens me that we have a government of whatever colour that a few short months after it's turned its back on children who rely on free school meals, that it would pull the rug secretly, with a sleight of hand, from underneath our schools, our parents and our pupils, so that 1,200, at least, Madam Mayor, 1,200, it may be more, here in Nottinghamshire, children were ignored by the government and effectively struck off the right to receive funding and support to the schools. You can see in the motion that I've set before council, supported and seconded by the leader of the council tonight, that it totals, and these are official figures, Madam Mayor, from a senior officer at Nottinghamshire County Council following my request, it totals £1.5 million shortfall support in pupil premium funding for kids on free school meals in our county. And what have we heard from the county council leadership about this? Diddly squat. What have we heard from our local MPs about this? Nothing. What have we heard from our government about this? Oh, well, you know, we might look at it, you know, we're not quite sure what we're going to do. You know, we'll have another look, you know, we'll see what we can do about it. And the shame of it all, Madam Mayor, and it's here in black and white for anybody who lives in the borough, who's got children who go to school, who rely on free school meals, or who takes an interest in the future of our children in the borough. The shame of it all is, looking back, even by the end of January, they would have known this, that over that period, the government's own figures show that there has been a 5.5% increase in the number of claimants of universal credit. That is to say, Madam Mayor, that there's been a 5.5% increase in families over that period between the October and the January being driven into what would be described on the government's own definition as deprivation and hardship. 1,200 kids, children who rely on free school meals, just swept away out of sight of the government. And I don't know whose idea this was, Madam Mayor. I don't know whether it was a rogue civil servant. I don't know whether it was a minister who didn't listen to the briefing of the civil servant, or whether it was a deliberate or complacent decision by the government to save money. But what I do know, Madam Mayor, is it stinks. It's a disgrace. It's a stain on us as one of the richest countries in the world, and it will not stand. And contrary to what Councillor Murray wanted to do earlier by silencing this council, Councillor Gregory's right. These are our children. These are our grandchildren. These are the future of this fantastic borough, and these are the future of this amazing country. They don't have a vote. They don't have a voice. But tonight in this chamber, in my Labour colleagues, Madam Mayor, and I hope others in this chamber, they do have people who will put their values before this debate, who will stand up for them, who will argue for them, and who will make sure that they aren't forgotten. So we're calling tonight, Madam Mayor, for the council to come together unanimously and to write to the Prime Minister and our local members of Parliament and to plead with them, Madam Mayor, to immediately reverse this decision. Here in Nottinghamshire, it's £1.5 million. The Prime Minister could find that now with 2 walls of his new press office that he's just cancelled. It's not good enough, Madam Mayor. Marcus Rashford showed some leadership earlier in the year, and by law did the government sit up and then listen. It's about time now, 4 months on from this despicable sleight of hand, this accounting con, that the government now did something about the 1,200 children and the many thousands more around the country who have been ignored and forgotten about, who rely on free school meals. I move this motion, Madam Mayor. I hope that we can come together collectively and call on the government to immediately U-turn and reverse this decision and show that they mean business. This government tells us it's about levelling up. Well, if you want to be a government that's about levelling up, you don't level up by taking food out of the hands of young children who are disadvantaged and deprived and hungry. So the test tonight, Madam Mayor, excuse my pun, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Let's see what the members do when it comes to the vote tonight. If they've got any compassion and decency, they'll support this motion, Madam Mayor. I move the motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. Councillor Clark, would you like to second, please?
I'll second, Madam Mayor, and reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, would anybody like to speak on this? I've got Councillor Wheeler. Councillor Wheeler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I fully support this motion. I'm just going to go through the reasons why I support this motion. The government's pupil premium funding changes that stealth cut to school budgets at a time when children need more support than ever. The decision to base pupil premium funding on free school meals data collected in the autumn instead of the spring shows a complete and cruel disregard. It's very cruel. It's a complete disregard for our children's futures. It shows that that they're really willing to sort of stamp over some of the most vulnerable people in our society at a time when during the coronavirus pandemic they need more help than ever. It's absolutely appalling what's happened here. I will say that the government's mishandling of the COVID crisis kept children out of school. Many missing out on learning and time with friends, and that's had a huge impact on social, emotional well-being and mental health. They missed out on learning. Cutting support that would help children most likely to have struggled with learning over the last year is absolutely appalling, quite frankly. The Conservatives have neglected children throughout this pandemic and now risk leaving many of our most vulnerable children behind as we try to recover from the pandemic. I just want to go through a few things that this cut means. I mean, short-changing children in this borough, what this actually means is this. It means that many children in our borough are going to miss out on extra one-to-one or small group work or sessions to help them in the classroom. It means that children are going to miss out on catch-up sessions before or after school to help with maths or literacy. It also means that children are going to miss not going to be able to attend breakfast clubs to help them improve attendance, for example. It means children that would have been entitled to pupil premium not having the money to afford perhaps some extracurricular activities like music lessons, for example. It means the difference between, for a lot of children, having access and being able to afford educational trips and visits. It also means young people not having access to additional help for perhaps speech and language therapy services. It also means that a lot of young people won't have access to resources that might boost their learning, including such things as laptops, tablets, or even just a calculator. To be honest, there's a lot of children coming to school that can't afford a calculator. And PP children, a lot of that budget, PP budget, is actually spent on calculators and things like that to help those children. Okay. It also means that young people that perhaps can't afford to buy a PE kit, pupil premium is often used to help children with PE kit and uniforms and so forth. I just think it's absolutely despicable. It's awful. And that's what this means for children in Gedling. It means children in Gedling are being shortchanged, quite frankly, and it's appalling. I just hope the Tories tonight, instead of acting like cruel Dickensian characters, support this motion, because I'm absolutely sick and tired of hearing about the Tories pork barreling their cronies while stamping on those less fortunate than themselves. It needs to stop. It's just appalling, quite frankly. I commend this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wheeler. Councillor Catherine Fox.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can't actually believe that we've got to put a motion like this forward. To be quite honest, I think it's absolutely disgraceful that we're having to argue this point yet again. Has it not been debated enough? Nationally, the fact that it had to be brought to the attention of the nation by a footballer standing up and talking about his experience. This is absolutely disgraceful. I am livid. I just think it's disgraceful, because if you are a public servant, if you are elected to public office, you should stand up for those people that you represent. That is the responsibility of every single councillor here, whatever colour you are, whatever political colour you are. You should be standing up for the people that elected you and for the people that didn't. And I think that it's absolutely disgraceful to deliberately, knowingly alter dates which affect and disadvantage the children of this borough. I'm absolutely livid. It's an absolute disgrace. Thank you to Michael and for John to put this motion forward so that we can back it, and I fully support this motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fox. Councillor Viv McCrossan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to obviously thank the Leader and the Deputy Leader for bringing this motion forward, and I echo all what's been said. I really welcome Councillor Wheeler's expertise in terms of someone that's in school that actually can see on the ground the impact that this is going to have. I'm absolutely 100% behind this motion. Anything that prevents our vulnerable children, young people from having food and resources to assist them to reach their full potential is an absolute disgrace in terms of not focusing and giving these children that opportunity. Many of our children during this pandemic have missed so much and need so much. So we absolutely need to prioritise our young people in our community, and that's what we're not doing. A hungry child will struggle to learn. So the notion of children going hungry, and we know that children are going hungry. We know that we have a terrible record in this country of children living in poverty. And we all know that once the pandemic and the furloughing stops, the level of poverty that our children are going to plummet to. So more than ever, our priority in this country need to be our young people, and I'm absolutely 100% behind the motion, and we should all be voting for our children. It's so relevant. We all have children in our borough, and it should be our #1 priority. So I am fully behind the motion. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor McCrossan. Councillor Nicky Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to echo everything that's been said previously, but also every Wednesday, apart from one, in over a year now, I've volunteered at the Netherfield Food Bank, and I've witnessed people coming into the food bank asking for help to feed their children, who are absolutely mortified by that, having to do that. The idea that food banks are used by people to top a witty sharp or whatever is absolute nonsense. There are people coming in who have never had to ask for help before, and they are deeply distressed by it. The emotional toll that takes on those of us who work there is astonishing. I mean, it's hard work anyway, because we're operating on a very small staff. But, you know, at one point when I first volunteered, we'd have 3, maybe 5 guests sometimes come in for help. You know, we regularly hit 30, 35 now. And it's just appalling that we're living in a nation where this has to happen anyway. Nobody should need to have, the food bank shouldn't exist. Nobody should need to have to ask for that sort of help. But the fact that it's increasing, and I can't see a point now where we can stop, because it's now becoming almost just a standard necessity. It's just like anything else that you go to get help for. And I'm sorry, I find this, I'm very upset by this. I just urge everybody to support this. And if you've ever had to stand and watch somebody have a tear in their eye because you've managed to find some washing up liquid for them, or some wash powder for the kids' clothes, or they refuse, you're trying to give them more help than that, and they're saying no, there must be people who need it more than me, and you know that they are in terrible state. I honestly, I can't say anymore. It's so upsetting, and I urge everybody to support this.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brooks. Councillor Bob Colliers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will be supporting this motion. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my background and my experience of poverty growing up. I was brought up in West Cornwall just after the war in a one-parent family. We lived in a house with no central heating. We had one fire in one room, which provided the only heat. In winter, we had ice on the inside of windows. The garden, as I first remember it when I was about 3, was overgrown in brambles. My mother hacked away at it with a sickle. She cleared it. We discovered apple trees, a pear tree, gooseberry bushes and other fruit bushes buried in all this jungle. She started digging. By the age of 5, we were growing as much of our own food as possible. That option isn't open to many people these days. They don't have a big enough garden. We kept chickens, so we had eggs and fresh meat. When I was old enough to go to school, I got a free school meal. And in those days, everybody had a third of a pint of fresh milk every day as a pupil. That stopped, I think, by a Conservative leader. Who was it? Oh, yeah, Maggie Thatcher, the milk snatcher. And this seems to be going the same way now. Poverty is becoming endemic again in this country in the way it was at the end of the 19th century. We have got to move forward. So government's tweak of the system, again, is going against supporting those in poverty. I will be voting definitely in favour of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Collis. Councillor Michael Boyle, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will be supporting this motion. There's a sleight of hand here that's been alluded to, and some of the consequences have been very well explained by Councillor Wheeler and Councillor Collis just now, and others, Councillor Nicky Brooks and the food bank and those things. This is a sleight of hand, and it assumes we don't notice. We think that it's just moving dates and it's just about moving people from one column into another, and it's just numbers and it's on a spreadsheet. Well, no. Kids who are hungry are not just stats. They are people, and people need our respect. The less well off in our society need our protection. They need our respect, and they need to be represented. So I disagree with Councillor Murray when he doesn't want to discuss these things because he finds it's not in the remit of this borough council. Well, it is in the remit. It is the responsibility of this borough council to stand up for the less well off and to stand up for those 1,200 people, those pupils, and make sure that they are in the right column and they qualify as they would have done if this government hadn't tried to sneak this change out in the dead of night like it does. We've heard about the corruption with PPE contracts and the track and trace and the incompetence. This corruption that stinks to high heaven, and now they're going to turn their backs on the most vulnerable in our society with this sleight of hand. But that's not just corruption, it's now meanness as well, and it affects people's lives. I am angry about this. I'm angry for every single one of those 1,200 pupils who will not get the pupil premium on their behalf in order to support their learning. I am angry that somebody would want to shut down the debate on this. I am angry that that somebody would not want to actually put forward what we think to our elected representatives, so it goes back to government so they rethink. Yes, I'm angry, and I'm right to be angry. I'll be voting for this motion tonight. Values are important. We are all elected here to serve our communities, and if you can't do that, then you shouldn't be here and move over for somebody who will do that. We need to, all of us, support this motion tonight. And yes, I do hope it's a name vote, because we need to stand up, be seen, be counted, and defend our pupils and defend the education of our children. Madam Deputy Mayor, I support this motion tonight.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boyle. Councillor Simon Murray.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Conservative group take the view that this is another inappropriate electioneering motion. We take the view also, I'm afraid, Madam Mayor, that your interpretation of Standing Order 12.04 is simply wrong. It has the effect, if your ruling is right, of robbing that paragraph of any meaning which prevents the consideration by this council of any motion. If it's as broad as being the entitlement to bring a motion which affects any one person in the borough, then that will mean that any issue can be debated at any council meeting. And that, in our view, is setting a most unfortunate precedent. We will not be engaging with this motion. Perhaps we might look at it in another way. Why, if these motions are so pressing, were they not raised at another council meeting outside the county council election time? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Councillor Murray. Councillor John Clark, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Disappointed to hear that. Again, this is a relevant motion. I'll remind Councillor Murray, he's not in Crown Court now, but you're in the court of the people that understand real issues, and real issues we see on a daily basis. Those that are out there on those doors and are walking around now, and you won't see it in the areas you represent, or not much of it, but in the areas that we represent, there is a lot of desperation there, and that's where you see it, and that's where we get so passionate about it. I find it an absolute disgrace that you're not willing to discuss this. We can bring many, many motions. This is relevant at this time because we've only just found out that this sleight of hand, I think it says there, was made. The school pupil allocations are not statutory for districts to get involved with. We know that. But with the things that we've done as a district, and that is the after school clubs, the holiday activities, and all those things that we're involved with, the food banks, which Nikki has eloquently laid out there, and the distress that's being caused to families. We've got 1,200 starved people, not starving as you'd see in a third world country possibly, but suffering. And it's having been a governor for many, many years, not now, but having seen pupils turn up at schools. When we first put the suggestion forward, and I think Councillor Gregory will back this up, the suggestion of doing breakfast clubs, everybody said, what the hell, what's that? Because a lot of people came from well-heeled, well-fed families. Not all do that, and the children don't actually ask for that. They get what they're given in life, and in some cases it's not a lot. So that brain, and if you ask any doctors, any surgeons, anybody else like that, that brain is not being fed unless it's fed at a younger age and it's fed properly and good food. So I think they're legally, I mean, you're legally starving people. That's as strong as I feel about it, by taking food off the table. So some of the children do not have good food, which is clear, and some of that is down to that they're not given it, but they also have other problems there, and the other family problems that they're dealing with. Not the fact that they're getting nothing to eat in the morning, not the fact they're being given anything to eat when they get home from night, not the fact that it's probably domestic violence in the family or something like that. These are things that occur. We're here to protect those children and protect the children of this borough. The 1.5 million shortfall, the 1.5 million shortfall could have been met from underspends at the county council. We put 12.5 million away on Monday, I think it was, in underspends on various accounts in there. We could have dipped into that and we could have helped out there, because the government have been very generous, actually, very generous to the county councils as far as COVID's concerned, and they've amounted quite vast sums down there, which if you take time to look at it, you'll see how much is there. The food banks have been necessary, that is mentioned. St George's Centre in Netherfield are doing 100 dinners a day for very needy people. And I suggest you get down there, you stand there, talk to the staff and talk to some of the people that come up. And they don't come individually. They're not scroungers. They've got families who are in difficult circumstances. They have females that turn up with a string of children that are there that haven't been fed properly. They haven't been fed properly because they've got the circumstances of life, which is a difficult family background. And normally it's a thug in the background who is not providing for those children. They're absolutely thankful that these things are on. And we're thankful that people like Tina and other people down at the St George's and in other areas doing these meals are doing a sterling job for them. So, very, very frustrated by the fact that you won't support this. Yes, we can knock it into something if you wanted to knock it into something major political, but we're actually highlighting things. What's wrong, and I think is it the last paragraph there, right into the PM. Why don't you start rocking a few boats? God, I did when I on the police authority and our government was in. We're always shouting for extra resources for this, that, and the other. It's not about you. It's about fighting for the people you represent. And I think you'll see that on May the 6th when people like yourselves are kept out of office. And I thank Michael and I thank the rest of the group. And I hope that you actually support this. Think about it, because it's You know, when you get up in the morning and you get your Kellogg's out or whatever you get and you put it there. Well, there's a lot of young children out there not getting that. And when they go through the day, unless they get a meal in the afternoon or at lunchtime at school, they will not eat. And sometimes they go home because they go home to an empty property, or in most cases go home and don't get a lot to eat. We're trying to protect those people. True, some people will take advantage, but the majority of people, those people in most of our schools through this borough have got 40% free school meals. And you've got to remember that there's got to be something wrong there. And for you, Sam, get out on those estates in Newark and just have a look, because there is some poverty there. There's no doubt in that. And there's even poverty in areas of Rushcliffe. But you've got to support this. And I hope everyone in this council will. We can have a row at another time. I'm quite looking forward to it. But this is about people. It's about our young people. It's about their future. We've spoken how proud we are of the Duke of Edinburgh putting the award scheme in there, and he's left a legacy there which is absolutely excellent, one of the best in the world, and that he was helping young people, and that means all young people, not those that are gifted. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. Councillor Andrew Elwood, please.
Thank you, Madam. The Liberal Democrat group are happy to support this motion. Hello?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's gone very quiet. Apologies. It seems I thought I'd clicked out, but you can still hear me. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, we're happy to support this motion. The pupil premium itself was introduced in 2011 by Liberal Democrats in government. Its objective is to decrease the attainment gap for the most disadvantaged children in society. Overall, attainment in schools has increased significantly in that time period, and in no small part due to the pupil premium. The change in the census dates that the motion refers to will have significant effects on the funding to local schools. Nationally, it is calculated that it will take £250 million away from schools. And it's also expected to wipe out, for 2/3 of primary schools, the £6,000 COVID recovery premium. So really, it's just knocking out any extra help that was due because of the COVID crisis, so that they're now going to be back to where they were. So all in all, we're happy to support the motion tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Elwood. Councillor Rachel Ellis, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll be brief. I was just looking at the gov.uk website around pupil premium, updated in March 2021, and it starts off very well. It talks about giving schools extra funding for the government to help them improve the attainment of their disadvantaged pupils. It talks about what children from disadvantaged backgrounds may face additionally. And it says the pupil premium is designed to allow them to help those disadvantaged pupils by improving their progress and the exam results they achieve. Okay, and in a year, when we have faced the pandemic, we've seen schools closing down for significant periods of time, and these pupils often not having the right kind of digital equipment. The government has decided not only to move the cut-off date back from January 2021 to October 2020, thus excluding quite a few disadvantaged young people who've been affected by the pandemic. It has also, may I comment, decided that the pupil premium and service premium rates will remain unchanged for the financial year 2021 to 2022. So you've got schools who are having to do additional work to help these young people catch up, and the government, in its wisdom, has decided that they're not going to give them any additional money for this. I think that's disgraceful. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rachel Ellis. Councillor Des Gibbons, please.
I will be supporting the motion. I'd just like to thank Councillor Nikki Brooks, because sometimes as representatives we develop a hard skin. And thanks for Nikki for portraying that emotion. And it probably touches on Rachel Ellis as well. Because at our food kitchen, we do see families coming up, and we do see the parents putting their brave faces on and basically hiding it away from the children. These are children in the school uniforms. We have a school adjacent to our food kitchen, and now it's part of their routine when the kitchen's open, where they will come in their uniform to pick up on the services. So it is very real. It's not a political statement that has been made. And I would invite people that are opposing it, please, if you don't think it's real, if you think it's political, come along to us on Tuesday. Every Tuesday we're there, and I know that Tom Randall is probably sitting and listening on this, and obviously my fans, come along and come see it for yourself. It's very real. It's very there is hardship there. And I've stated before, I will be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gibbons. Councillor Roxanne Ellis, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to call for a name vote, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Seconded, Madam Mayor.
Oh, thank you very much. Councillor Creamer, then.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before I will keep it short, but before I actually start, I would actually like to put my thanks forward and appreciation to Councillor Brooks, Councillor Gibbons and Councillor Rachel Ellis. They're having to pick up the aftermath of government policies, and it's real people that are actually suffering, and it's real people. And I think Nikki, with her actual very, very heartfelt, very, very real emotions, actually pointed that out to us. I just find it absolutely disgraceful that they could actually sneak this through, a good time to hide bad news perhaps again, but sneak this through at a break where people just don't notice, headmasters don't notice, headmistresses don't notice, and it affects real people to millions of pounds worth around the country. Yet they can actually put forward this contract, that contract, nothing, no bother. To every action, there's consequences. And I would say to Councillor Murray, it affects us. The consequences of these decisions are actually being picked up by the local councillors, by certain local councillors in particular with their volunteering. And it's a disgrace to actually not take part in the debate. Whether you agree with your government or not, the consequences are real. And we as local councillors have to deal with that. And I'll keep that Madam Mayor. It's unbelievable how we can actually just turn us back. We can make a decision over there and just say, oh, it doesn't matter. It's only those people. They don't matter. Somebody else will pick that up. So, yeah, disgusted about the decision not to take part in the debate, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Creamer. Councillor Julie Nyack, please.
Hello, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. First of all, I'm very confused as to why Councillor Murray thinks it's not part of our remit. We have schools in the borough. We should be caring about those schools that are in our borough. I worked in a local school just around the corner from where I live for 25 years. I know full well how the premium is used. It's used and the link between poverty and attainment is very, very well documented. The people premium is used for all sorts of things, from extra swimming lessons, extra music lessons, taking children on trips who otherwise would not be able to do these things. We also provided extra teaching assistants. So that means that a teaching assistant will have to be removed from a school because there is no longer this funding to carry that forward. And I agree with everything else that everybody said about how important it is for the people within our borough. Thank you very much.
Very much, Councillor Nyack. Councillor Pat Bosworth, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Both Councillor Hope and myself were members of the teaching profession and therefore have first-hand experience of the effect that lack of nutrition has on children, particularly in the primary sector. So we will be supporting the motion tonight.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bosworth. Councillor Rosa Kennelly.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I wholeheartedly support this motion. There's a plethora of research available in relation to the fact that hungry children, they can't learn and they can't achieve. I have lived experience of growing up in, extreme poverty and had free school meals. And I know definitively I would not have gone to university or had the professional career that I have had it not been for those free school meals. So I am very thankful for that. But also just want to say a huge thank you to Nikki and the others for their help, for Nikki for her heartfelt words. But also thank you to Nikki and the others for all that they do week in, week out, being there for people, because poverty is a deeply shameful experience, and knowing that there's people like Nikki there every week for those people really does make all the difference. So thank you.
What's that? Thank you very much. Councillor Fran, should I declare a non-pecuniary interest as a school? What is that? CO, Clay Boroughs. Oh. Right. Is nobody else wishing to speak? I saw Councillor Paynes and Palin. Sorry, Marge Palin. Did you want to speak? No.
Thank you. I would like to support the motion. As the governor at Derrymount Special School, I really know the value of the pupil premium. Although the children are already statemented to be able to attend the school, from the pupil premium, we are able to employ additional special needs support to help those children achieve. I have recently retired, should I say, as the governor at Robert Mellor's school. While I was there, pupils on receiving pupil premium were almost 50% of the school population. As I have not been attending that governing body for some time, I would expect it to now be in excess of 50% of the population. When the new children come into the school, if they miss out on even the shortest period before they get their pupil premium recognised, they will miss out on so much. As Julie has said, it's not just about meals. It's been about, before laptops were being given out by so many people because of COVID, we were providing laptops with pupil premium. We were providing shoes. We were providing all sorts of support for children with real need. I just want everyone to support this motion, and I'm very pleased that it has been seconded that we have a named vote.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Palin. Anyone else wishing to say anything? No? I just want to say we have got wonderful young people. They are our future, and we do have a duty to take care of them and make sure that there's no hunger and there's no hardship for families anymore, because nobody, I'm sure, wants to go to food bank. That's all I want to say. Councillor Payne, would you like to close, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Let me just focus in for a second on the quotes that Councillor Murray used. He said it was inappropriate and electioneering to be talking about children in poverty. I've never heard anything more despicable said in this council chamber in my 10 years serving here on this council, Madam Mayor. And let me just answer Councillor Murray directly about why these motions are coming now. Because of the veil of secrecy and the obfuscation from the Conservative Rand Department for Education over this issue. Let me tell you what the Times Education Supplement revealed just a few short days ago, Madam Mayor. They revealed that the Department for Education, led by a Conservative minister, has figures within the department for what the real impact across the country of this underhand sleight of hand will be on children who are in poverty. But it refuses to release that information, Madam Mayor. I thought we used to have a Tory Prime Minister who said sunlight was the best transparency, or transparency was the best sunlight, David Cameron said. The reason for not releasing the information, Madam Mayor, you couldn't make this up, is because the Department for Education is worried about its reputation. Not worried about the children who are struggling because they can't eat their food. Not worried about the families who are having to deal with their children coming home from school hungry. They're worried about their reputation. That's why, Councillor Murray, this motion is being brought now, because we've been wading through the obfuscation, the secrecy, the underhand nature of this government that wants to put its own reputation and gloss first before disadvantaged children. And let me just say this to you, Councillor Murray, because it's about time we burst your bubble, pretending to be Judge John Deed in your expertise in the law. This great council was created in April 1974, the 1st of April, 47 years ago. And it's a privilege to serve on this great council, not a right. You've quoted governance tonight. You've quoted legality. You've quoted heraldry. Let me quote you some heraldry about this great borough. Omnibus optimum. I'll tell you what that means. It's the motto of our council, Councillor Murray. It means the best for all of our residents, Councillor Murray, including those children who aren't represented here in the chamber tonight. And when you tell me that you're not going to engage in this debate because this council doesn't have responsibility for poverty or the issues that are talked about in this motion, let me just point this out to you. A man who claims to be an expert as a barrister in legislation who clearly didn't do his homework. The Child Poverty Act, 2010, introduced by Tony Blair and Gordon Brown's government, says this: district councils are statutory partner authorities. Part 2, Section 20 of the Child Poverty Act. And it goes on to say, in Part 2, Section 21, that those district councils are placed under a duty to cooperate with the responsible local authority in making arrangements with a view to reducing and mitigating the effects of child poverty in the responsible local authority's area. In case you need me to spell that out to you, Councillor Murray, we have a statutory legal responsibility to reduce child poverty. You've come here tonight with a straw man and said that you won't debate our children who are hungry in the borough because we haven't got responsibility. Not only are you factually incorrect, Councillor Murray, you are morally incorrect and you are morally bankrupt. It's a disgrace that your group have sat this debate out tonight. It's a disgrace that you haven't stood by Omnibus Optimum, the best for all, which is what every single councillor who sits in this chamber should be doing, and what our forebearers intended when this council was created in 1974. Let me finish, Madam Mayor, by saying thank you. Thank you to Councillor Brooks for the work that she's been doing throughout this pandemic to help those across Netherfield, Colic, Burton Joyce, Stoke Bardoff and the surrounding areas, Gedling Village, to make sure that they haven't been going hungry. Let me thank people like Reverend Nikki Bates and her partner Tony in Warren Hill, who have been ably supported by Rachel Ellis and Des Gibbons week in, week out, and many local residents to ensure that families, including those at work, as Des said so powerfully earlier in the NHS, don't go hungry. Let me thank all the other councillors, cross-party, who have supported efforts to ensure that children haven't got hungry throughout this pandemic. And let me finish, Madam Mayor, by thanking our staff at this council, who every single day in the work they do live the values Omnibus Optimum. And I hope by the time we get back into the chamber, we got a lecture earlier from Councillor Smith about taking care of those things that our residents are interested in, that Councillor Murray will drop the Judge John Deed Act, will drop the citing legislation wrongly, incorrectly and inappropriately. You've led your group down a garden path tonight, Councillor Murray, and you should be ashamed of yourself, because this Labour administration will do every single thing it can between now and the next Gedling Borough Council election in 2023 to let the residents know that when it came to debating children who were hungry and poverty, you threw a smokescreen, you set up a straw man, you sat out the debate and you had nothing to say. I move the motion, Madam Mayor, and I hope that it's unanimously supported.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Thank you. Thank you. Now, we'll take a vote on the motion then, Caroline, and it is a named vote because it's been seconded. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, when your name is called, please state whether you are for, against or abstained, and a reminder to take yourselves off mute at this time. So we have Councillor Adams.
Abstain.
Councillor Peter Barnes.
For.
Madam Mayor, Councillor Sandra Barnes.
Definitely for.
Councillor Barnfather.
Abstain.
Councillor Bosworth.
For.
Councillor Boyle.
For.
Councillor Brooks.
For.
Councillor Clark.
4.
Councillor Clooney,
4.
Councillor Collis,
4.
Councillor Creamer,
Positively 4.
Councillor Elliott,
Abstain.
Councillor David Ellis,
4.
Councillor Rachel Ellis,
4.
Councillor Roxanne Ellis,
4.
Councillor Elwood,
4.
Councillor Feeney,
4.
Councillor Fox,
4.
Councillor Gibbons,
4 children.
Councillor Greensmith,
Abstain.
Councillor Gregory,
4.
Councillor Hemingway,
4.
Councillor Hollingsworth,
4.
Councillor Hope,
4.
Councillor Keneally,
4.
Councillor Lawrence,
I wish to declare a non-pecuniary interest as a school governor, but that doesn't preclude me from voting for.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence, that's noted. Councillor Ron McCrossan,
4.
Councillor Viv McCrossan,
4.
Councillor Miller,
4.
Councillor Murray,
Abstain.
Councillor Nayuk,
4.
Councillor Paling.
As a school governor, as I've already said, I have a non-pecuniary interest, but I'm voting for.
Thank you, that's noted. Councillor Parr,
Abstain.
Councillor Payne,
4.
Councillor Scroggy,
4.
Councillor Martin Smith,
I will also declare a non-pecuniary interest as a school governor. The school's not within the borough, but I do represent pupils who travel from the borough to the school I'm a governor at, and I abstain.
thank you, that's noted. Councillor Sam Smith,
Thank you. I'm also a school governor, so declare a non-pecuniary interest and I abstain.
thank you. Councillor Towsey Hinton,
4.
Councillor Truscott,
4.
Councillor Wheeler,
4.
Councillor Wilkinson.
4 on the side of hungry children.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, that's carried.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Can I just ask you all to just stay there a minute while I just say something, because I'm going to close the meeting, obviously. I want to thank our Chief Exec, Mike Hill, for the use of his office to do the full council meetings in. I want to thank Caroline and Fran and Alec for all the help while I've been the mayor, and thank you very much. I want to thank you all tonight for attending, and I tell you, just take care, all of you, and I wish you all the best, and see you in person in May for the AGM. Good night, everybody. God bless and take care. Thank you. Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night, all.
Bye-bye, everyone.